Hi everyone, today we're going to be making these cute little heart-shaped coasters. They look something like this. They have little cute hearts going around the edges. They only have two colors and they only take about 20 to 30 minutes to make. So I have white and pink 8-ply acrylic yarn and I'll be using a 4/0 crochet hook. I'll put the centimeter conversion in the caption. Okay, so we're going to start off by making a magic ring. So threading in between the pinky and the ring finger, and then around and around. You want the tail to be closest to your, like the end of your fingers. Then you want to insert your hook underneath that first string, as you can see, and then on top of the second string and pull through and twist. Then you want to yarn underneath that string on the top and pull through the loop, and then we're going to chain 2 because we're going to be making double crochets in this magic ring. So 1 and 2. So to do a double crochet around the magic ring, we're going to yarn under, go underneath those 2 strings, yarn under and pull through, yarn under, pull through 2. Yep, and then yarn under and pull through 2 again. So that's 1 double crochet and we're going to do that 12 times. So I'll show you one more. So yarning under, going under the 2 strings, yarning under, pulling under the 2 strings, yarning under, pulling through just the first 2 loops, yarning under and pulling through 2 again. So because the tail here is a little bit short, I'm just going to pull it a little bit. And then I'm going to keep doing my double crochets around. You may have to readjust the way you're holding it a little bit. I've taken my fingers out of the loop and I'm just holding it to keep everything together. And here I'm just making my way through the 12 double crochets. Now this is what it should look like after you finish your 12 double crochets into the magic ring. I'm going to count my stitches, so if you turn your work you'll see these little V shapes. Each of those is a stitch, so just count back from where you are. You'll notice there's like sort of a standing stitch at the start. You can ignore that, that's not a stitch, just the 2 chains we made when we started the magic ring. And then you want to take your tail and pull it really tight so that hole in the middle closes up and you get this sort of nice round circle. Now because we want our circle to be flat and even, we can't do continuous loops. So after each loop what we're going to do is we're going to make a slip stitch in between the first stitch and those sort of 2 standing chains. So inserting, yarning under and then pulling through both loops on the hook. Okay, so that will close the circle. And you want to pull that nice and tight. And then we're going to make 2 chains. So 1, 2. And then now we're going to do double crochet increases all the way around. So yarning under. Looking for the first stitch. Inserting, yarning under, pulling through there, yarning under, pulling through 2, yarning under and pulling through 2. To do an increase you want to do another double crochet into the same stitch. So you can see where the stitch is. We want to go into the same stitch space. So inserting, yarning under, pulling through, yarning under, pulling through 2, yarning under, pulling through 2. So that's 1 increase. It might be helpful to put a stitch marker where that first double crochet was, so you know, but as you go around you'll see that it's quite easy to tell. So I'm doing my second one here, so I've done my first double crochet and I'm going to do another double crochet into that same stitch. So yarning under and pulling through 2. Yep, so it should look something like this. Now we're going to go and do double crochet increases all the way around, so we'll end up with a total of 24 double crochets. Alright, I'm just doing my last double crochet here, so that makes 24. Now to finish this round, you'll find that you're actually sort of skipping, I guess, 3 stitches technically. So if you look really closely, there'll be a really tiny stitch there. We're not double crocheting into that. That's the slip stitch we made and we pulled it really tight, so it'll be really tiny so we know where it is. What we're going to do is we're going to do our next slip stitch into to the little space between the standing chains that we made and the double crochet that's following. So that little hole there on the side, that's where we want to put our slip stitch. Alright, so inserting in that space, yarning under and pulling through both to create a slip stitch and pulling really tight so the stitch is really small. And then we're going to make 2 chains, 1, 2, and then all the way around we're going to do double crochet increase, double crochet. So starting with our double crochet increase, yarning under, inserting into the first stitch, oops, yarning under, pulling through, yarning under, pulling through 2, yarning under, pulling through 2 again. Okay, and then into the same stitch, another double crochet as we're doing here. Now into the next stitch, we're going to do just 1 double crochet, so yarning under, pulling through 2, pulling through 2 again. And the next one, we're going to do a double crochet increase. So there's our first double crochet and our second double crochet into the same stitch, and then double crochet into the next stitch, and then increase, double crochet, increase, double crochet. You should end up with a total of 36 double crochets going all the way around. Alright, so now I'm on my last double crochet of that round. I'm going to finish off as I did the round before, so inserting into the space between those 2 chains and the first double crochet, yarning under and making a slip stitch and pulling really tightly and then chaining twice. So 1, 2. Now the pattern for the next round is double crochet, double crochet, double crochet, increase. But to get my circle more even, I'm going to split the double crochets on either side. So I'm going to do double crochet, increase, double crochet, increase, double crochet, increase, and I should end on increase, double crochet. So I'm doing my first double crochet. The next stitch is going to be a double crochet increase. So 1 double crochet and another double crochet into the same stitch, making an increase, followed by a double crochet into the next stitch, and then a double crochet into the next stitch, and then a double crochet increase into the next stitch. And from here on, it's just 2 double, so it's just double crochet, increase, double crochet, increase, all the way around, and you'll end on a double crochet. Hopefully that makes sense. It just helps keep the circle nice and round, otherwise it becomes sort of like a hexagon. I'll pop the pattern in the written part though, so you can see it. Alright, so now I'm on my last double crochet, so inserting, pulling through 2 and pulling through 2 again. Now I'm going to finish this row off slightly different from the others because it's our last row of white here. So I'm going to, instead of inserting between that joint space, I'm going to insert directly into the top of the first double crochet, yarning under and creating a slip stitch as like before, not pulling too tightly though. And then I'm going to fasten off and leave a reasonable length tail, not too long, and then just pulling through. Now I want to create an invisible joint, so with this tail I'm going to pull it underneath the 3rd stitch. So we've done our slip stitch into the 1st stitch, and then we're going to skip 1 into the 3rd stitch. We're going to insert our crochet hook and pull the yarn tail through. And then now we're going to pull the yarn through through the 1st stitch we made, just through one side. So inserting into one side of the V of the stitch where the tail is coming out from. Just like that. Yeah, we're going to pull the tail through. Now this is called an invisible joint because it looks like there's no kind of end and then no knots. And I'm going to hide the tail in the back of my work. To hide the tail you can use a darning needle, but I just like to use a really small crochet hook because I find that's actually a bit easier. So I just insert the crochet hook into a few of the loops. Remember, this is the back of your work, into a few of the loops on the surface nearby the tail. And then I pick up the tail and sort of just pull it through, and I keep doing this until the tail is fully hidden, or I feel the tail is sort of secure enough, and then I can just cut it off, and it will kind of hide itself. Okay, so I finished hiding the tail, and I've got this little white circle, and this makes the middle section of our coaster, as you can see here. So our next step will be the pink. Now we're going to create a slip knot using the pink. So getting the tail end, we are going to create a loop and a cross at the top, just like this. Then we're going to bring the tail end behind the loop, like that. Now we're going to get our crochet hook, and we're going to insert it above, on top of all of the yarns except for that middle one. And then we're going to grab our tail end and our yarn and pull tight. And that's how you get a slip knot. Now we're going to find the joint of our circle, so we'll be joining each individual row together. You can see it's like slightly recognizable by sort of the bigger gaps, and we're going to start there. So going up from where the joint is, we're going to count 2 stitches back. Now we're going to insert, yarn under, pull through, and pull up to the height of about a double crochet. Now we're going to yarn under, insert, yarn under, pull through, and then repeat that. So yarn under, insert, yarn under, pull through to about the height of double crochet. Now we're going to yarn under, pull through all of the loops on our crochet hook, yarn under, and pull through once again. So that's one puff stitch. Now we're going to chain 2 relatively tight stitches. So yarning under, pulling through, yarning under, pulling through. And then we're going to do another puff stitch into the same stitch. Okay, so I've started by yarning under, I'm inserting, I'm pulling through up to the height of a double crochet. I'm yarning under, inserting, yarning under and pulling through, yarning under, inserting, yarning under and pulling through, yarning under, pulling through everything, yarning under and pulling through. And then I'm going to skip 3 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and into that 4th stitch will be where my next puff stitch goes. So yarning under, inserting into that 4th stitch, yarning under, pulling up to about the height of a double crochet, yarning under, inserting into that same stitch, yarning under, pulling through, yarning under, inserting, yarning under, pulling through. You should have 6 stitches on your crochet hook. Now mine were a little bit messy, so I'm just trying to neaten them up with my finger. Sometimes they can get a bit tangled, and it's fair enough if you just go back and do it again so it looks neater. And then pulling through all, and then yarning under and pulling through. Now I'm going to do 2 chains again, so 1, 2, and then another puff stitch into the same stitch. So you know the drill now. That's 1, 2, 3, yarning under, pulling through everything, and then yarning under and pulling through. And then there you've got this little heart. So I want you to do that all the way around. So skipping 3, doing a puff stitch, 2 chains, and a puff stitch into the same stitch, and then skipping 3. Alright, so now I've finished And I'm just going to make a slip stitch to join the loop into that first stitch of that first heart. I'm going to cut and pull through, and then I'm going to do an invisible joint, I guess, into that heart. But because we've done chains, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that tail through the middle of the heart, and then pull it through the middle of the stitch that it's coming out of. So inserting through one side and then pulling the tail through. And now I'm going to fasten it to that tail end on the other side. So you can pull both tail ends quite tight. And then I like to just make a double knot. Ta-da! Now you're all finished with the pink, and we're going to do a white border. Alright, so now we're going to grab our white and make a slip knot like we did with the pink. So making a little cross, popping the tail end behind, inserting the crochet hook on top of everything except for that tail end, and pulling everything tightly. Now, I like to start sort of two hearts behind where the pink ends off. So starting in between two hearts, going to just do a slip knot. So inserting and then pulling through both loops. Okay, and then we're going to do half double crochet, then 6 double crochets, then a half double crochet, all into that chain space in the middle of the heart. So starting with our half double crochet, inserting straight into that chain space. We're also going to try to hide the tail end at the same time like I'm doing here. So that's a half double crochet, pulling through everything. And then we're going to do a double crochet, so yarning under, inserting, yarning under, pulling through, yarning under, pulling through 2, yarning under, pulling through 2. And we're going to do this 6 times. So that's 1, this is 2, this will be the 3rd double crochet, 4th, 5th, and 6th. And then we're going to finish with a half double crochet, so yarning under, inserting, yarning under, and then pulling through everything. Okay, and then we're going to make a slip stitch into that space between the 2 hearts. So inserting, yarning under, and just pulling straight through. Okay, and we're going to repeat this pattern all the way around. So into this next one, half double crochet followed by 6 double crochets and then a half double crochet. If you find that it's getting a bit squishy, you can actually just move the stitches across to make yourself more room. Alright, so now I'm going to finish off by doing a slip stitch into the first white stitch we made. So just inserting, yarning under and pulling through, leaving sort of a tail length of about 10 to 15 centimeters, cutting, just pulling through. And now I'm just going to hide this tail end into the back of the work. Again, using a really skinny crochet hook and just pulling it through. I like to kind of pull it through back parts where I'm pointing and then fastening off. Alright, so we're finally done. You've finished making your heart crochet coaster. It's really cute. If it is a little bit kind of folded up or creating sort of cup shape, just pop a big heavy book on top of it and leave it overnight and it'll be nice and flat in the morning. I hope you enjoyed this video. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.